piss. Keep it simple, stupid.
Tell me, boy.
I'm paranoid, I'm paranoid, I'm paranoid, bitch, I'm paranoid, I'm paranoid, I'm paranoid, I'm paranoid, bitch, I'm paranoid.
Testicles 1, 2, testicles. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Paranoid Radio Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us again. I want to thank the Lord for allowing me to be here today, and I want to thank every single one of you for allowing me to enter your space. Do not forget to check us out at paranoidradio.com. Hey, catch up, ladies and gentlemen. We're blowing fucking the cages open. We have not only shirts, but we have a new fucking line of shirts and hats and fucking fishing sticks and fishing rods or whatever the fuck else you've been asking for. We're going to have that shit entering summer in June. On top of that, I'm opening up a second series of Paranoid Radio podcasts in Espanol for all those Spanish speakers in Latin America. I'm fucking jumping the gun. We're doing it hardcore. Even if I have to do it and talk to myself like a fucking idiot, I'm gonna do it. That's how we started this shit. So I expect you guys all to fucking support and word of mouth. Share us, ladies and gentlemen. Drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcast that allows other people to enjoy the show as much as I enjoy making it. Now, please allow me to jump in from the deep end of the pool and set the mood. Continuation of JB's journey. The risk-taking reaches new heights as he delves into a world of identity theft. With a keen eye for opportunity, JB masters the art of manipulating personal information, exploiting the vulnerabilities of financial systems for personal gain. With law enforcement on the hunt, every move becomes a gamble, yet fortunes are made. With crystal methamphetamine of unprecedented purity flooding the market, with his newfound partners in crime, JB sets his sights on the ultimate prize, wealth beyond imagination. Welcome back, JB from Renegade, Family of Light on Instagram. What's up, dog?
What's up, player?
Guys, JB has been with us from day one. I had 17 episodes when he fucking brought me on his amazing show, Fail Academy podcast, and alongside Morph and many other people that supported us from day one, and he is a staple here. He's actually one of our 7 wonders of Paranoid Radio podcast. He even got into fights about Donald Trump way before I became a Trumper. And a very good friend and a special guide. And JB, let them know where they can find you, bro.
Pleasure to be here. JB at Renegade, Family of Light on Instagram. We're just gonna kick it and talk about some old school shenanigans that were going on back in the day and just keeping it real. It was real. It's a real story. It really happened. All of it. Part 1. If you haven't seen it, go check it out because we're gonna pick it up at part 2 now.
Here we go. Yo, dude,
it's gonna get heavy.
Last time we talked, you said, "Bam."
I was arrested.
Driving trucks. You were arrested. And then
the receipts game. The receipts game.
Yeah.
And the cop rolled me. The cop rolled me. I got busted and the cop stole my shit. And then I was like, all right, need to just stop doing this. I kind of squeezed it. I did it for what it was, all it was worth. And I was like, there's other angles to pursue out there. And so like the squatters were bringing me this mail and they were showing me like how to use it and like what to do, get these accounts and these check-in and you can access the bank accounts. And so my interest was definitely piqued because I didn't want to be doing the returns game anymore. So I was like, all right, this is a new angle to pursue. And that's what I did. They were just bringing me all this mail and I was paying them like in crystal with it. And I didn't know what to do. It was like piling up. And I learned basically you got to have 4 or you have to have 5 critical pieces of information in order to access like someone's like stuff. You need their name, their address, the date of birth, their social security number, and their telephone number. Those are the 5 pillars that you need. If you can get a couple of extra things like the email, something, then you got really solid. But those are the 5 majors. And then if the holy grail of all information is the credit report. If you have someone's credit report, then you've got all access to all their information. You could basically open up accounts. You could do tons of stuff with that. But that's how the next thing started off. I was just deep diving it, putting pieces together, like checks, bank statements, credit cards, anything that was coming in the mail that was like offerings that you could apply for. Like you could apply for a credit card, send it. Then they would approve it. Then they would ship the credit card to the address, but you would have your guy there to intercept it. And catch the mail, and now you have the card that you activated, and now you set the password, and then you can go on shopping sprees. and the check cashing places were checking. We were printing out checks with people's bank accounts on them, and you would cash them for like $1,400, $1,500, $1,600, and that's how we were doing that. But most of the time, it was pretty much hard, and it wasn't, it was very hard to get all those pieces to place. So it wasn't like it was just this thing that was just easy to do. It was like you really had to dig for stuff and piece things together. And I would have these profiles, and I would be waiting
a lot of research
to come. Yeah, I'd be reading everybody's mail, and it was like a lot of reading and trying to dig for critical information and accounts. And I paid off a $7,000 credit card debt with one of those like pay by phone service things where you just call up the credit card company and you want to make a payment over the phone, but you make a payment using your bank account, your checking account. So just call up, say I'm pay by phone, I'm going to pay by checking account, give them the checking account numbers that were on somebody else's account, and it processes it. It gets cleared because the funds were in there, and it wipes out the debt. Now, the thing is, that particular thing was my name was on it. So I was taking a big risk by putting my name on something that was being done that way. And it could have came back on me, but it didn't. And so the person had so much money in the bank that they didn't even notice that it was gone. It was like they weren't even aware that $7,000 just vanished.
Holy fuck.
Yeah. So we were targeting like big accounts that basically wouldn't notice. You would hope they wouldn't notice. And this particular time they didn't. So whether the credit cards or buying stuff online, that was pretty much the best I could do. It wasn't like this big thing, but it was like, money was coming in. And it didn't get serious until I met this guy who was introduced to me because like he was looking for a guy that could go into the stores, act like the person on the profile,
acting skills,
yes, and deliver it smoothly, convincingly, and have the nerve to do it. And he was somebody who this guy was a pro. Like he would pay employees at car dealerships to make copies of all the credit reports that were in the freaking, that would come, people getting car loans. Yeah. They got to fill out the credit reports, and they had stacks and stacks. And this guy had stacks and stacks of credit. I mean, gold mine. Like it was the golden goose. Like you had everything you could possibly need in these credit reports. Like you could do whatever you wanted. And he was taking car loans out, driving car loans. He was renting high luxury apartments on these profiles, and he was making the payments. He would make the payments because he wanted to live there and drive the car. But as soon as he decided he didn't want to, he would stop making the payments and just wait for them to repo the car and then move on to the next thing. So it was like he never drove the car at all, and he just moved on to the next thing. And this guy was living this, and this was before any of this stuff was known. So
that's
it wasn't on the
say.
radar yet. He was like a pioneer in it. And then I was like right there with him, and I was learning it, and the world didn't know what it was yet. So nobody had security measures in place.
This is the day before, the time before you would get a notification from your phone telling you, hey, you just spent $350 here. And
none of that stuff existed.
Before they tell you, hey, your check just came in, some money went to your savings account. None of that shit existed, right? You would have to
does now,
Yeah, or walk in there and ask them, I want a balance check, right? And they'll have to print you out the old school ass little pamphlets where it says, this is how much money you got in your thing after you showed that person who you were. So this is before all of that shit, bro.
Two-step verification where they, you got to do the code. There's the Google's two-step verification, or they got to send you a text to your phone, and then you got to answer and say, yes, this is me. All that stuff that exists now, none of it was there then. So it was like wide open. And this guy, he knew it was up, and he was maxing out on it. And he was buying a lot of computers. It was all computers because he had computer businesses that were buying all the stuff immediately, like because he was giving them like good deals. They would buy as much as we could deliver to them, and in seconds. So like the day we got it was the day it was flipped for cash. So it was like there was no holding anything. It was already sold.
Gangster, dude.
Yeah, it was total an operation. And I was like, I wanted to learn from this guy. I was like, this guy is a pro. I want to learn from him. So I was like, listen, I'm not doing the store thing no more because like I'm already over that. But this is different. Like I'm not going in with the receipts or anything. This is basically what he's doing is he's applying for credit lines online for Apple. Let's say Apple. And he applies online for like a $10,000 credit line. He has an 800 credit score he's using, and he gets approved. So now I got to go in and be that guy. But so now they have security measures in place. They did have it in place in that thing. This is what it was. I had to memorize everything that was on that credit report. We had to create the fake ID. We had to create the ID. We had to create an email. Create an email that we set the account up
What
with
a
so that
beast.
you
Yeah. You're going the whole 9 yards with that one. Holy.
Yeah. So you get approved, and now I go in and they have you log into their system to with your email that you opened your account with to show that it was you. And then you get your stuff. I get $10,000 worth of computers, and then they verify you by calling the bank that issues the credit and putting you on the phone with the bank. So then the bank, it was usually the credit, gets on the phone and they start asking you questions that only a person that lived the life would know or had access to the credit report, which they didn't think anybody did, because nobody did. And they would say things like, what former address did you live at previously to the one that you're at now? What former job did you actually, what company did you work for prior to now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like what car, what bank did your previous car loan was with? Stuff that you cannot know, like not just by having someone's name and address. So I'm just banging them out, like bing, bang, boom, just easy, knocking them out. And they're like, all right, all right, Mr. Peterson, you're approved. Everything's great. Thanks so much. Enjoy. And now the manager's all like, oh, you want some coffee? Do
you want me to massage your feet?
Yeah, I'm spending all this money there. So then this one time, it was actually the first time they're walking me out to the car, and because I got a shopping carts full of stuff, and they're walking me out to the car, and the manager lady, she's taking me to, and then all of a sudden the trunk opens, and there's a whole bunch of Apple computers in there because I had hit a store previously. I was hitting 2 stores.
Balls on this guy, man. You just got caught up rolling like that.
Dude, that was my second store of the day. It was the first, and it was my first run, and I already had the trunk loaded. And she opened it. I went in, she looks at it and she's like, you already have this stuff. And she looks at me like with suspicion. And I was shocked myself because I forgot about it. And you
were fucking high, weren't you? You were running on it.
Okay, yeah, I was probably on no sleep. And but coherent. And so I just smoothly, I was like, yeah, I'm like, we're a business. We have multiple credit lines with multiple stores. So, like we have offices, and then we need the equipment. And so we have multiple things, and now I'm picking up all the equipment. So, and then she's like, oh, all right. And then it was over. It was like I was diffused like that.
Yeah.
And she thought to herself, something's not right about this. And she probably walked away thinking that was weird. But I just diffused it by just being cool and just having an answer that it just right off the dome came with it. So then that's how we rolled with that on the stores. And then the other thing we were doing was we were ordering like laptops, like 5-6 laptops at a time from online stores like HP, Dell, Lennox, those computer stores, and then we would get the credit lines with them and then have it shipped to the address, and then we would track the tracking that was going, and so we would park in front of the address where it was going to be delivered, and we would sit in the car and wait, and because we could see when it was going to be arriving, so we would show up before they got there, a little bit before. Then we see the truck coming, the FedEx, UPS, whatever it is, he's coming down the block, we see him. And now we act like we're the homeowner who's now just either getting in the car to leave. So I get out of the car to leave. He's pulling up. I'm like, hey, you got, is that a package from Dell for Peterson? Is that for Peterson? He looks at the label. He's like, yes, it is. I'm like, great. I'm glad I caught you. I was just about to leave. And he's like, here you go. Have a great day. Hands it to me, get in the car and leave. Or if I say, oh, I just got back, I'm glad I got you, then I'll take it and act like I'll start walking up the driveway, and he gets in the car and drives off. And so like that's how it was going. We just parked there. We knew when they were coming and would wait for the truck, say, hey, is that thing? And then he would say, yeah, hand it to him. So then we were hitting them so hard that now they started getting, they started noticing because the certain area was starting to get hit really bad. So they instructed the drivers to make sure that you check for the ID before you hand anybody a package that, says that they're the person. So we had the IDs. We make them. The guy shows up. We do the same routine. The guy's like, I just need to see ID real quick. We flash him the ID. He's like, great, thanks a lot. That's all I needed.
Bing, boom, bang.
Yeah, he don't care. Like, it's not his thing to solve a puzzle. So he hands it and we're at it. So it's a solve.
You know what, dude? At this portion of time, you already hit a couple fucking stores, plenty of fucking stores, and you also hit in the online situation. And then, so what happens is the store gets paid. Then it finds out that the credit department, whoever allowed that transaction to go through, they need to pay up. They find out that they're not going to get paid from the right bank account from the owner of the bank account. The bank account now is like red flagged. The store got paid because it's credit. Somebody has to go bankrupt, and then bing, all the packages start getting routed. Whoever was the carrier or, you know, the transit person or the transit company in the middle, then they start getting flagged. The tracking numbers start getting signature acquired. Now you need proof of delivery, picture delivery, etc.
Yes.
So that's fucking wild, dog.
I mean, really, at the end of the day, the person who really gets it the hardest is the consumer, the person whose credit got destroyed. And I didn't even know how it would all, you know, what the ramifications were back then. I was always a guy that went after the corporations. Like, I didn't want to go after a person. Like, I didn't want to hurt a person. It was the corporations I wanted to put. But at the end of the day, here's the thing. You're not going to get your credit card statement until a month later. So you're not even going to know that that purchase was made. So a month later, the statement comes. Then you might see it and notice something. Then you might say, well, what's this all about? And you start investigating. So by the time you actually, the store has already been paid. Yep. They're not giving it back because you're not going to give the merchandise back because you don't have the merchandise. And you're saying you didn't buy it. So they think you're committing the fraud. So they deny you. And maybe your credit card company might help you out one time. They might say, all right, we'll give you the chargeback one time. But if it happens again, and this guy's credit just gets getting banged out like multiple times, like it would, then it was like, you know, you're on your own, buddy. And it was like the person basically got fucked and they had to start over and go back, whatever it was. So yeah, it was really hard. And that's why it became like a national thing where people were like, you know, it was on commercials and, you know, it was everywhere after what we did. Like basically we were the ones that ushered that whole freaking syndicate in. And yeah, I was like a pioneer in that thing. So yeah.
In California, prime real estate. For people with credit in areas to go shopping.
Florida and California, I think, were the two biggest like credit fraud states in the country. I know Florida was a big one. So we were out there in California, LA of all places. So we were hitting it, but you know, it was lucrative, and yet it was like little by little, it was starting to get riskier and riskier. Every time you did it, you started to get the feeling like, you know, something was up, and eventually
you're having pressure on you, bro. More weight and driving dirty, and you're fucking high, and you know you lack.
Yes, the paranoia kicks in too.
Paranoid radio starts kicking in. You're like, fuck.
Yes. That was, you know, like that was like the sperm of paranoid radio. It was like you guys were still spermlings. You weren't even born yet.
I'm a 90s baby. I probably was around as a little niggle.
Wow, you are a 90s baby. That's impressive.
1990,
that's impressive. Man. This was in the early 2000s. So so now it's getting hot, and it's like things are getting riskier and riskier. And so I'm like, you know what? It's not gonna last forever. So I don't want to get busted like I did last time. So it's probably best to just kind of like stop. So, you know, back off. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna back off.
You were making solid money, I assume.
We were making great money. But I knew it was getting riskier and riskier. And so I just knew we were rolling the dice. And I just, you know, some guys were getting busted at the check cashing places. You know, they were getting caught over there. So it was just the time. And I didn't want it to be too late. So I was like, I'm going to back up. But there was one more score to be had. And this guy, he told us that he was doing cashing checks for up to $5,000 in this Indian Reserve casino. It was a casino on an Indian reservation in California. I forget the name of it. And he was going there on the regular and just cashing these checks. And all they want to see is like a pay stub. If they see a pay stub, you're golden. They'll give you the money. So we just created them. We created pay stubs and we created the checks and we kept it under the 5,000. I did for 3,700. And he was like, this is clockwork. So we drove down there. It was like a couple hour drive to get to this casino. Maybe it was like in somewhere in, I forget like somewhere, maybe Palm Springs area. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, where those Indian reservation casinos?
I forgot the fucking name of it too.
Yeah. I think it might start with an M or something like Mojave or something. I don't know. Yeah. But so we go in separately to not go as together. And so I go in, I stand in line, I go to the booth, the casino, I hand the check, hand the pay stub. She logs it in some book by hand and hands me $3,700 in $100 bills. And I say, okay, thanks. And I walk off and I was like, this was insanely good. And I take a coin. I get one of those coins and I put it in the slot machine. I never pulled a slot machine before in my life. I pulled the slot machine and I hit for $1,000. I think it was like a $10 coin. So the coins are pouring out now. It's like ding, 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 ding. And I'm like, this is great.
You're on a fucking on the roll.
I take the coins and I'm like, I'm just going to do the one time. I'm not going to do it again. And I take the coins and I go up and cash them in for the bills. And as I'm cashing them in for the bills, I turn around and I see the dude that told us all about this in cuffs, getting escorted out of the place by the cops. He had gone there so many times that they were waiting for him this time. Like he was hitting that place on the regular. So now they were waiting for him. They knew who it was and when.
And this is your first time, dude. Oh my fucking God.
And it's also my last time doing anything like this. It's like, this is the last score. And my heart was fucking in my throat. And I'm like, they're coming for all of us. Like, I'm thinking like they're going to basically grab my shoulder next. Yeah. And I'm white as a ghost. And I'm just like, get me, like, let me just get out of here real smooth. Just quietly try to slip out the door. I slip out. I get to the parking lot.
Hyperventilating already.
I'm hyperventilating. I'm like, holy shit. And I'm looking for the rest of the people, thinking that maybe they already been popped. I wound up reconnecting with my crew. And I was like, what the fuck happened? And they were like, he got hit because they were waiting for him, but we had never been there. And to us, they didn't know who we were. And we were just regular people to them. They were waiting for him. So he was the guy and thank God we went in separately. So he went in and he got fucking nailed, escorted out in cuffs. And then I just got in the car and just got the fuck out of there. And I was like, that's it. We're done here. Like, yeah, this adventure is over. And at the same time, I had just made two really big connections in the Crystal game where I was able to set up meetings with like the two biggest dealers in the LA area.
And this is before the fentanyl was in there. This is like, yes. Like after crack cocaine era, straight into the hardest part of meth, where it was getting cooked with pure acetone and shit.
Before that, it was the bikers that were making it, and they were making the crank. That was the yellow stuff, and it was
like
powdery,
horse shit. Yeah.
And sometimes it was good, sometimes it sucked. It tasted fucking weird. It was just a big inconsistent mess, and you just never knew what you were getting. And that's what everybody was kind of accustomed to. And if you got a good batch, it was great. If you didn't, you kind of just stuck it out and wrote it out. Now I get connected with the two main guys in Hollywood, and they're both separate. Like they're not enemies or rivals, but they're competing. They have their own stuff, but like they're not like buddies and they're not like enemies. They just respect each other's territories and do their business because there's plenty to go around. But I wind up getting meetings with both of them and end up getting them to agree to supply me. And I leapfrog a whole bunch of levels just to get to them, which is very hard to do because most of the time these guys, they don't deal with people they don't know. They don't deal with people they don't trust or have a history with. And it takes a long time to get to that level. But there was people that vouched for me because I was, very organized.
Because of the credit. You had good credit with people fucking up credits.
Yeah, I had the street cred, and I was organized. I was honorable. I was trustworthy. I kept my word. I was on time. My money was in right. So because in that game, everybody was like kind of shady. They didn't have their money. They said stories. It was always a story, and things always were getting spun around. So to have a guy like me was different, and they recognized it, and they were like, all right, we're going to deal with you. So I wound up getting them both to agree to deal with me. So that means I got like the best prices and I got it straight from them. And they were one step. Basically it was the cartel, them, and then me. So I was they were the buffer in between me and the cartel. And I didn't want to deal with the cartel. Like I was happy to just be one step removed.
Yeah, because that pressure's mounted. And they have to
I didn't want to be that
out
deep
a lot
into
faster.
It. Yeah, that was real too deep. And those guys were all about it. And they were
political. It gets very political.
Yeah, they were white guys too, and they were complete, but they were like guys that have been in and out of prison their whole lives. They didn't care what happens, and so it was their life. So I was cool with just being that third guy in the line because there was plenty to be had. And then at the same exact time that I hook up with these guys, this new fucking product comes out, which is like just the way that whole show Breaking Bad was created from this era. It was this unheard of. It was this pure 95% pure, one solid piece of crystal glass that you could see through, and you had to take like a hammer and a chisel just to break it apart. That's how pure it was, and that's how just solid that it was. It wasn't no powder or anything. It was just it was like the movie Superman when he goes to his crystal castle in the Arctic. That's what it looked like. It was like these giant, like real crystals, like that you see on when you buy crystals. That's what exactly what it looked like, and it was pure, and it had no odor, and it had no taste. It was just like you could smuggle it. It was unlike anything, and I remember that my partner that was doing the credit game with, I remember because he knew that it was over between him and I as far as that relationship. And he goes, I hope you're poised to get very, very rich right now, because that's what's going to happen. And I was just like, half in disbelief and half like I knew it was real, because I was like, yeah, you're right. It is about to happen, because this is like right in front of me. And it's like it's going to hit the streets, and they're going to go crazy, and then it's just going to be nonstop. And that's what it was. And I sent the first thing to my boy in the Bay Area, who is now purchasing from me.
Okay.
And he was like, holy shit. And he started making big orders. Like he started like ordering like pounds every week. He was like, at this
point, you don't have people bringing it into the prisons, but you're also feeding the fools out here. When I mean fools, the little cholito dudes that I need to put in the work. We're talking about blacks. We're talking about Latinos. We're talking about whites in different areas or suburban areas where it's getting really hot in the summer. And you're feeding the homeless, and you're feeding the other little cholitos trying to put in work because they want to be a big gangster in their hood, etc., etc. You're playing now, bringing it down to where you're distributing that shit, bro.
Absolutely, distribution. Yeah. It was like a company doing distribution. And,
Bam.
And I was, I started off with the nickels and dimes on the streets with these guys and peddling it. And now it was like that was over. Like I didn't deal with any of those people anymore. I only dealt with the actual, like the wholesalers. It was like I was the distributor, and then I distributed. Pallets. Yeah, the guys who bought by bulk, and now they sold to the dealers, and then those dealers sold to the streets,
and then they fucking mixed that on the way down. They could
step on it. Yeah, they could do whatever they want, but they were getting pure. So I was only dealing with like a handful of people, like maybe 5 people at the most. Maybe 6, and including my guy in the Bay. And so that was it. It was like I would just supply them pounds every week. They need to be fed. The machine kept getting fed, and I was FedExing it to the Bay Area. Like, we had the vacuum seal bags, like in the commercial bag, in the lion, he can't smell the bloody red meat inside the bag because it's so sealed tight and it's so airtight. The lion can't even smell it. He's ignoring the meat. That's how good those things were. Like they literally sealed it so no odor could get through. And it was like you just suck the air dry, and then the coating on that plastic vacuum seal bags, they just protected it. So I was zipping in those, vacuum seal it, put it in the FedEx, overnight it, and it was getting there like no problem. It was just like 24 hours. It was showing up, and he was depositing the money in my bank account on a business account, a corporate account. And so I'm going into the bank, and now they think I got like a big cell communications company, like I'm selling cell phones.
So you were the first drop ship drug company in the fucking planet.
I don't know, but that's what we did, man. We didn't play games.
E-commerce on fucking steroids.
They could have done that from Tijuana if they wanted to, instead of driving it in. They like FedEx fucking was very reliable. FedEx was really reliable, and we had accounts with them too, so we didn't have to actually go in to the store. We could just drop it off in one of those drop boxes like over there. So it wasn't like you had to go to the counter. So he's getting mega business up in the Bay Area, and so I'm feeding him. We're both getting rich. I'm keeping it real, like low key. Like I'm just driving the same beat up truck. I'm keeping the same apartment. I'm not changing anything. I'm staying so low key, so I don't want any attention. I'm stacking it. I got fucking stash houses, stacking it, safes. I'm sending a bunch of it back home, a bunch of it to the family. And just everybody thinks I'm doing this online eBay business and just, really successful eBay business. It started off that way. And, the acting thing was over. Like they're like, you didn't need Hollywood. Like, I bought my dad. My dad had an old vet. I'm like, I gave him like 10 grand for the vet, and it was like smashed, needed work. I just said, here's 10 grand just to show off. And he's like, wow. He's like, you really made it, son. Like you didn't need nobody. You did it all on your own. And
man.
Yeah. I was like, fuck it. I'm a businessman.
You love it, bro. Yeah. It's you have to take advantage of this moment. That's what you live for, really.
And bro. I was though, like I literally treated it like a business. And there's plenty of freaking drug dealers that turn into very successful businessmen once they go straight. Once they go legit, they become very good businessmen. So it's all about the numbers, supply, demand, all that's the same stuff. Logistics. If a shipment doesn't make it on time because it got nabbed at the border, then you got to deal with logistics.
Except you don't have no return policies. It's just no returns. That's it.
No returns.
Yeah.
Although I did have a return policy. I'm like, if you don't like it, then you could give it back, and I will replace it, or you take. Nobody ever gave it back.
That was drugs.
There was never a word that was said. So, and if they complained, I just said, all right, I'll take care of it. And before I knew it, they already got rid of it and needed another. So, but I always told them, I'll take care of it if you want, if there's a problem. And and was never shorted them. Always
like a courtesy, like it's a courtesy return check. Nobody's really going to use it.
Yeah,
it's drugs.
So,
for God's sake.
The most tedious part of this whole job became counting the money. That was a chore, because it was just constant counting. You got to sit there and count all the bills and stack them and rubber band them and count them, and it took hours, and it became a chore to count all the money.
Damn.
So now we're rolling for a few years like this, and I'm stacking.
Damn.
I'm trying to exit the game at a good time. But you can never do that, because now it's a machine, and the machine needs to be fed, and I'm on a high level of it, so you can't just walk away. Like there's no just stopping. Nobody can just, because there's people relying on you, and there's people that on both ends relying on you. The suppliers are waiting for you to order, and then the people waiting for it to deliver. You walk away, it's like you're screwing a lot of people over. So
let me ask you something.
The pressure's on.
Now, good thing you said that. Is the pressure on only because of that, or by the mob? The mafia, or whoever the fuck.
Well, I never had any mob. No, I don't think the mob was into the crystal game. I don't think they
the cartels or
the cartel.
It gets to a point where you gotta meet somebody. Like, you're gonna meet
the
this
mob.
person
All right,
today.
so the cartel. That's why I never wanted to be that close to the cartel. And so when things like I was planning an exit strategy, but I wasn't planning it the day that things happen. Like I wasn't planning it. In other words, we're always planning it. Everybody's planning it, but they never actually do it. So I was doing the same thing. I was planning it, but as the money's coming in, and now the pressure's there, it's like there's a double-edged sword. It's like the money's so good, you don't want to work for that, but at the same time, the pressure is hard, because you can't just walk away. You have to slowly maybe ease somebody else into your position that could take over for you. That would be the way to do it. Like slowly start training somebody, an apprentice, to take over. That would be the way. But how often does that ever happen? So on this particular day, I was getting ready to go to New York for my sister's wedding. She was getting married, and I had a flight, and I had everything pretty much cleared off on the books, except for one order that was going to the Bay Area. And it wasn't my guy. It was somebody else. It was somebody who used to deal with my guy, but they had a falling out. So they got pitched over to me, and I was just supplying because they were pretty good buyer. So I order, I go to my guy, I get a couple, I seal it, do my thing. And I was having guys that were dropping it off to the FedEx for me. I would have runners, so paying them. So now I'm driving around town, and I swear to God, it's just like from Henry Hill in Goodfellas, where I see this chopper out the window of my car, and I'm looking up, and I'm like, why the fuck does it seem like this chopper is following me?
Paranoid radio, I'm telling you.
Everywhere I go, man. You remember that scene, right? You remember Goodfellas?
No, I never seen Goodfellas. I've seen.
Oh my god! Yeah, that's a classic movie. Okay. I'm sure a lot of your audience is going to know Goodfellas. Okay, I'm pretty sure they know Goodfellas. Well, if you know Goodfellas, there's the scene where Henry Hill is driving around. He's spun out. He's totally strung out, just like I was. And he's got errands to run. He's got to pick up this, pick up that. It was kind of like domestic errands, just like I was. I was getting ready to leave. Plus, in between, he had a couple of deals to do, just like I was doing. And I remember thinking to myself, I feel like I'm Henry Hill right now in the movie Goodfellas, because I think this chopper is following me. So I was getting a little spooked. I was going to drop off the runner to on the corner of FedEx. So I just told him, listen, I don't have time. I need you to just go, because it was like a couple blocks. I need you to just go handle this. And because I got to catch a flight, and I was running late. So he goes, does his thing. I'm upstairs now in my apartment. Now it's like a 2-story apartment. It's only like 8 or 10 apartments in it. So you just go up the stairs on the outside, and then your door is there, number 6, and then you just go in. So it was like a balcony, stairs, and one step. So now it's a sunny afternoon in July. It's like the sun is blazing. It's like maybe 3:00. Yeah. Sun's blazing through the windows, and I'm yelling at my girl because she's always procrastinating. She's always late, and I'm like, "We're gonna miss the flight. Let's go!" And we'll pack. And I had already dropped the dog off at the kennel, so the dog was taken care of. The place was clean, spotless. spotless. There was nothing in the place. No dope was there. It was all just clean and proper. There was cash. There was like, you know, maybe 50 grand in cash in the closet somewhere. And then I had one little personal bag of crystal on me that I was taking with me, and I was just going to mail it to myself and have it delivered when I get to New York. So I had that, and it was like in a manila envelope addressed to me. Dude, man. So all of a sudden I'm grabbing the suitcase, and I hear up the stairs, and then I look out the window and I see shadows crossing the window and lining up at the door on both sides of the door. There's two windows. They cross the windows, and now I see, and now all of a sudden time just stops. Like literally, it came to a standstill, and I just sat there and I said, okay, I guess I'm not going to make my sister's wedding.
Get the fuck out.
Listen to this, dude. I'm like, this is all real. I'm like, I'm glad I got the dog at the kennel, because otherwise they might have shot her. I'm like, you know, that I'm thank God she's at the kennel, because then her life would have been saved. I'm like, I got this bag of dope in my hand right now. I should probably, you know, just get rid of that as fast as possible. And, you know, like what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to chuck it. And all of a sudden I hear, doo, 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 and everything comes back to it went from like
second I hear
it went from like slow motion, like no, to down on the floor in the road. I chucked that manila envelope. I dropped to my knees, head down. I feel the freaking the tip of a barrel at the back of my skull, and I'm just like down, everybody. You know?
Yeah.
Not really forced, but I feel it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like right now there is a barrel at the back of my. I'm like, if I move wrong, I could have my head blown off. And I was just like, you know, I had my hands over my head and just let them handle it. I was like, they were in control, and you know, my girl, she, you know, they had her, and that was it. It was done. It was like basically like now I was like, okay, I am officially popped. And it was the feds, man. It was like SWAT team, SWAT gear. It was
you were on an investigation.
The full show, man. The full show. Yeah, like they were on. Somebody had you know, already snitched on me. Got caught, snitched up the ladder, and then they were scoping me out. It turns out that the girl who I was shipping that product to, the last thing that I sent out in the Bay Area, she wound up getting popped, and then she rolled over on me and my guy in the Bay Area. So they got him the same day they got me. They were knocking his door down the same day they were knocking my door.
They were not going to do it separate times because you were directly, you had enough time to warn each other.
Yes. So now it's like I'm
like
out,
a continuation plan, huh?
Yeah. It's so where are we at on this? Because now I'm basically is this
we need part 3.
Oh, perfect. So this will be the beginning of part 3. So now I'm in cuffs, and I will take it from the cuffs, because it gets even crazier, dude.
Because I gotta know if she spoke, your girl at the time, if she spoke anything, was she involved?
A lot of things, man.
Oh, man.
A lot of questions, but a lot of other stuff that you're not even gonna believe, like the shit that was going. It gets even crazier. Let's put it that way.
Let's set up the fucking
part 3 is a climax.
People really like this stuff, bro. I got some messages on WhatsApp, and some people DM'd me. Even Tank was like, "Yo, that was
why wouldn't you?"
Yeah, Tank was like, "Yo, that was different." I was like, "Right? No, right?" He goes, "Dude, that was intense." I was like, "I didn't know he was that involved."
If you're sitting in your car, driving, and you're hearing this story, how could you not just like be around?
It's a Netflix show
for the ride.
It's a special, dog.
You want to know what's going to happen next? Like, what did this guy do next? How did he make the money? How did he do this? So yeah, it gets even crazier. So tune in. If you didn't watch part 1, watch that, and then watch this, and then get ready for part 3, because then shit really gets serious.
We are opening up Rumble back up. We're gonna start dropping all the episodes from 200 until this point back again, because those are the only ones I have on file. And then we're also dropping these on YouTube. So guys, you're gonna start to be able to find us on YouTube and Rumble and watch the unedited versions. And I have everything that he has done for us edited, so you'll see the difference when he is actually starting to produce more for us and doing a lot of the video work. So you guys can check him out at Renegade Family of Light on Instagram, and also rogue1media.com. Make sure you check him out. JB, dude, that was amazing, dog. I can't
see you next week or the week after,
next week,
something like that. All right, let's do it, man. Let's get it to him. Peace.
Thank you so much, bro. Peace out, man.
Paranoid Radio.